Good evening. I want to welcome everybody to the Columbia County Board of Commissioners meeting on this December the 17th, 6 p.m., and 1 week away from Christmas. I'd like to call on Commissioner Malier to open us with our invocation.
Thank you. Please bow your heads. Lord, thank you for the rain, and thank you for being here with us this evening. We ask for your blessings as we go forward tonight, and we are appreciative of the right to assemble and govern ourselves. Help us as we make decisions this evening that affect our neighbors and the citizens of the county. Some of these decisions are not easy, but please guide us and be sure our actions are based on truth and fairness. In your name we pray, amen.
Please stand for the pledge. Again, let the record show that we have a full quorum of commissioners. Commissioners, you have the minutes from the previous meeting of December 3rd in your packet. If they meet with your approval, I'll accept a motion to do so.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor, raise your right hand. Approval of the agenda. Scott, we have two things that have been added, I-3A and I-3B.
I believe one's add, one's a delete.
Mine says addition.
Addition. Okay. Yeah, I think they're both added, Mr. Chairman. Yes, sir.
Oh,
Yes, sir.
well, I'm sure the agenda's correct then. Again, welcome to the commission meeting and Merry Christmas. I know that we have a couple of folks that want to speak, and if it's okay, what I'll do is just allow you the 5 minutes each to speak once we get to that part of the agenda where we're dealing with the subject that you're here for. Special recognitions. I know that we have some recognitions that we want to give to employees this month, and I'm going to start with Commissioner Galius, and you have the Employee of the Month for Parks and Recreation, I believe.
Don't need it, Janabeth. Well, welcome to Shonda Blowbaum. I asked Mr. Luton. Didn't want to get that wrong. Shonda Blowbaum has resided in Columbia County for 17 years. Time employed, the Columbia County Parks and Recreation, Wildwood Park. Love that one. Since July 7, 2014. Shonda is responsible for all of the administrative customer service duties at Wildwood Park. And most recently, she has been assigned the task of assisting the park manager with development and planning of events and programs to enhance the park's offerings. Ask any frequent visitor to Wildwood Park about Shonda, and they all have nothing but glowing remarks about the great customer service they receive from her every time they visit the park. We have plaque and check that Texas taxes are going to be taken out of. and a day off, is that right? Okay, and I'm going to let Mr. Luton finish.
Wow, that putting on the spot. Very briefly, I started at Wildwood approximately 8 months ago, and basically what I tell folks is Shonda's the brains of the organization. She runs this place, and she's been running it for 5+ years, and she has basically been my backbone. She takes care of everything, and she's guided me through. And so, seeing that, I just went ahead and just told it like it was, and nominated her for a well-deserved award. And like I said, speak to anybody at Wildwood Park who's been there, and they have nothing but high praise for her. So it's an honor to work with Shonda, and Wildwood Park is what it is because of her. So thank you, Shonda.
Shonda worked as a temp in the CLS office 5 years ago, and we saw 6 years ago. We saw her potential and how she was with customers, and we wanted to find a role for her, and we put her out at Wildwood, and she's since. So 150,000 people go through Wildwood every year, and you probably talk to every single one. Thank you for all that you do. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Speech.
Oh, no. No, I just. Almost every minute. Oh.
Next, we have Commissioner Allen is going to give our 2019 team of the fourth quarter. Come on down.
Don't be shy now, you're on the phone every night. Congratulations to all of you. Thank you for being here. Well, I am, they give us some guidelines for every team that's nominated, and they usually give us a brief summary of the reason that they were nominated, and usually at least I try to cut that back a little bit, but if you'll indulge me, I'm actually going to read this one because it reads like a script out of a TV show, so I'm going to read the entire. On November 12th, we received a 911 call from a distraught citizen stating that her boss, elderly attorney, was traveling from his office in Augusta to her home in Columbia County. Somewhere along the way, it appeared that he had some sort of medical issue. He was able to push the callback button on his phone to speak with our caller, but unable to speak. There was nothing to indicate where this individual was located, and the only information we were given was driving a gray truck. While the caller was eventually convinced to hang up her call with her boss so that we as a county could attempt to call them directly, he was unable to call 911 due to his paralysis. The original call taker, Janelle Hutchinson, your hand, there you are, kept the caller on the phone trying to obtain any helpful information, while the SRO, Tiffany Ushery, immediately began emergency requests through the phone provider to ping the location of his phone. However, due to the limitations of the older flip phone design, inaccurate and vague coordinates were being provided. Tiffany then maintained phone contact with the caller's husband, who was out trying to locate the attorney by trying to retrace his route. Another dispatcher, Shauna Skoll, called the attorney's phone. He was able to answer his phone for us, but could only grunt until she could discern no in some of his responses. She immediately began a series of closed-ended questions to try to determine his location, asking about surrounding buildings, landscape, signs, etc. Shauna had different deputies activating their sirens at different times to see if and when the impaired man could hear them. CCFR, Fire and Rescue Dispatcher working the shift, Andy Cloud, monitored the information being received and used the traffic cameras, one location after another, to assist in the search. So now we're bringing in our traffic control. The other dispatchers on the shift, Maddie Burton. The likely excuse, Christina Smith and Haley Cook, carried the regular workload occurring during this event to minimize distractions from locating this individual in need. After nearly 15 minutes of intense questioning and searching, Shauna had narrowed down the location. As she was relaying the information to responders, he was also located on the cameras. The man's speech began to resume. His paralysis started to subside just prior to the arriving deputy making contact. After speaking with the employee that originally called, the man was hospitalized for a couple of days due to a mild stroke, but is expecting a full recovery. She expressed her gratitude and appreciation for the team that found her needle in the haystack. Dispatchers are trained to handle a variety of situations with the expectation that the variables often change. They excel at multitasking and problem solving. They know which resources are needed in a given situation and coordinate the required responses. Rarely, however, do they confront such a challenging scenario where they need to know an emergency exists, having contact with the one in need, but have no helpful information to provide responders. Above and beyond the daily demands required of this job, the 911 dispatchers on B shift proved their determination and resolve, working together to ensure that every effort was made to assist this individual in need. If there is any question about the impact that these dispatchers made to the citizens of Fayette County, it is reassuring to know to what extent of effort is made for the welfare of those in need. Your 911 B shift team of the quarter, Lacey. Who would like to address? Here you go, sir.
So that's just one example of many, many other examples that we could give you guys of the outstanding job that these guys do. What we preach to them is focus, attention to detail, and teamwork. And even though we're, for lack of a better term, a consolidated 911 center with fire and sheriff's office, they work hand in hand, and this is a perfect example of that. And there's no doubt in my mind this guy would be a lot worse off without these ladies and gentlemen handling it the way that they handled it that day.
Thank you all again very much. You're very deserving of this trophy and the benefits that go with it.
Yeah, you guys do an amazing job every day in our community. So much safer with the have and working together as a team. I'm proud to thank you so much for what you do every day. I'm Andy Cloud.
Tiffany Ushery.
Haley Cook. Nell Hutchinson. Shauna Scholl.
Andy Shedd, with the sheriff's office.
I'm Lieutenant John Sherman, the sheriff's office.
Again, I appreciate everything that you guys do every quarter of the year. Thank y'all for being there for us when we need you. This is a well-deserved honor. Thank y'all.
Picture. People say one of the best things about Columbia County are the schools, but I'm here to tell you, it's the fire department and the sheriff's department are right there with them. Those are the three diamonds in the crown, so thank you very much. We have one more presentation. Commissioner Richardson, this is a presentation for a World War II veteran.
And your family with you. You paid your taxes? Good, good. I'm glad to hear that. Thank you, sir. Wait, if you want to come on. I was talking to Becky and Troy, very dear friends of mine. Becky mentioned her dad, how you were captured and all, and wanted to recognize you. We have a proclamation for you. I'm going to let you hold this proclamation. 75th anniversary of the capturing of Sergeant James Elwood Weisenbaker, World War II prisoner of war. Whereas Sergeant James Elwood Weisenbaker retired from the U.S. Army after serving in the Headquarters and Headquarters Company 423rd Infantry Regiment of the 106th Infantry Division. Whereas he was assigned as an anti-tank platoon and captured by the Germans on December the 19th, 1944 at Saint-Ville, Belgium. Whereas he was held as a prisoner of war until released by the Russian army at Frankenwalde, south of Potsdam, Germany, May the 6th, 1945. Whereas Sergeant Weisenbaker is 95 years old, resides in Columbia County, Georgia, Now therefore, the Columbia County Board of Commissioners thanks Sergeant Weisenbaker for his service to our country, recognized the 75th anniversary of his capturing December the 19th, 4, signed and sealed the 17th day of December. Commissioner Galius gave me a little bit of information. I'm just going to read one sentence here. Defense, St. Val, by the 106th, has been credited with learning the German timetable for reaching Antwerp, hampering the bold offense. All for us, all you did, all that were with you. I've always heard the greatest generation. Leave it.
After that, after hearing the fine work of the employees ahead of me, I can understand why I'm last. But I do appreciate it. This is an honor too great for me. With your permission, I would like to accept this honor in behalf of others that were with me at that time. And I really am honored by the quality of people who are offering this to me. And I thank you very much.
Well, we thank you and proud to have you as a resident.
On to our consent agenda. Commissioners, you have items on the consent agenda that have been through committee and received the necessary votes to be placed on this agenda. If they still meet with your approval, I'll accept a motion to do so.
Move, sir, to approve.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. On to the debate agenda, Commissioner Malier.
I do have a few items. First, old business. I make a motion to approve the second reading of ordinance 19-15, amending Chapter 90 zoning, Article 4, supplemental requirements, Section 90-140 landscaping, to repeal any conflicting ordinance to be effective after this second reading.
Discussion? Second reading. All in favor, raise your right hand.
Thank you. I make a motion to approve the second reading of ordinance 19-16, amending Chapter 90 zoning, Article 4, supplemental requirements, Section 90-141 tree protection, repealing any conflicting ordinance to be effective after this second reading.
Second.
Questions or discussion? Second reading, all in favor, raise your right hand. Still with you, Commissioner Allen, I'm sorry, I stand corrected.
Talk loud. I'd like to make a motion to approve Resolution 1946, supporting locally established building design standards for residential dwellings.
Second.
Mr. Slaughter, will you explain
I'm
this?
going to defer to Mr. Johnson. He's going to handle this one.
Mr. Chairman, this is a resolution that we've been asked to support by the Association of County Commissioners of Georgia and also the Georgia Municipal Association that has to do with supporting locally established building design standards. There is a move currently in the State House and also in the State Senate that would potentially preempt local government from certain zoning procedures. And we are asking for the resolution to be passed to support the locally established building design standards so the community closest to the citizens can make the decisions for its citizens instead of having that decision made at the state level.
Discussion, questions? All in favor, raise your right hand. Carries 4-1.
I would like to make a motion to approve the proclamation in commemoration of the 75th anniversary of Sergeant James Elwood Weisenbaker being captured on December 19th, 1944.
Second.
Are there any questions? All in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries. So we're going to get into the part of the agenda where folks have asked to speak, and I've got 4 folks that have requested to speak, and I'm going to ask you to come up and state your name and address for the record, and then you have 5 minutes to speak on your subject. So first is the Raleigh Drive and Fordham Road rezoning, I-2B1. Mr. Donald Gillum.
I'd like to speak on this behalf because of the facility was terminated for the waistline being full, and they extended it out to Riceboro Road. With the facility in there, the pool area doesn't accommodate for the residents to sit in now, and now you're approving another 70-something lots to be built in this area attached to this subdivision because they extended the waistline to Riceboro Road. My concern is, and I brought up to one of the commissioners, is Columbia County's already approved. I'm not against building in Columbia County. I'm a construction worker. I'm hitting my bottom line right here. I work concrete to provide it. But when you, I don't want this to turn into Atlanta and Richmond County. I always was told Columbia County was a better county. I moved over here close to my family because they're getting older. We picked the area there because it's close to Harlem. We could be able to them. And now you're talking about extending onto this subdivision and putting their into our amenities that's already full. It's a 2-person stall and a bathroom in the men's. I don't know the ladies, I ain't been in there. But the facilities is not gonna cover that. They have a 2-person minimum, but they won't put the capacity on it. And I tried to reach out to the fire department to find out the code of Columbia County's on it, and I haven't been able to do that. And the other problem is there's the drainage area. They got 1 drainage pond for this whole subdivision. Now, if you're looking, you can go on my address and look up Willow Oaks comments on Facebook. The properties are getting flooded and they're bad because the builder didn't put the proper drainage. They're building them so close together. You have buffer zones and you have setbacks for a reason, and now they're asking for amendments to go against the rules of the buffer zone and the setbacks. And I ask you, please don't let them change things that's in there for a reason. I don't want to be paying flood insurance down the road. I just bought this house 10 months ago, and I'm fighting with them to get my stuff corrected. I just ask you to please take consideration of the citizens of Columbia County and to block them from adding more house and subdivision onto ours. They want to build that subdivision, let them build it. Don't attach it to Willow Oaks. Let Willow Oaks be completed like it was.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
The rezoning request to add more lots, that is within Willow Oak, so it would tie into all the amenities?
Correct.
Was the pool and so forth designed to lots? I know it's a requirement, certain size, the number of lots. Was it built of that?
I would assume they designed it for the 413, the original number, but I mean, far as the pool capacity, that's a state-issued regulation, not a county-issue regulation.
Health Department.
Correct, so we'd have to ask the state for their numbers of capacity.
And I've heard about some traffic concerns with a turn lane, but
We do have a lot of turns out there. I did have staff do some traffic counts. We had 813 left turns off of Wrightsboro Road onto Hamilton Road. The day we did the study, I actually have the study, actual number here. 818. The day we did the study. 862 rights off of Hamilton Road, 278 to the left off of Hamilton Road onto Wrightsboro Road. It's a heavy intersection.
So if you did an extrapolation on those numbers, another 45 homes would give you at least another 200.
I wouldn't say it'd be that high, so it hard to tell without seeing a true distribution. We didn't do a study of the entire area. Hamilton Road has two exits, one to Old Louisville, Old Louisville, one to Wrightsboro Road. So without doing a full traffic study, I'd hate to guess at what that number would be, but it's high now.
Now, would their request give them two entrances to the subdivision, one off Wrightsboro Road and the other off of Hamilton?
No, sir.
Okay. It would just be one.
Well, there's multiple exits out of this neighborhood onto Hamilton Road. Got one right at the Big Bend. There's another part of the neighborhood that has one down across from Kim Lane. Those two are not tied together, I don't believe. Yeah, they're not tied together. So those two sections have their own separate entrance.
Mr. Schlockler, at the last approval increment, what was the top end of units supposed to be there?
It
How
was
many homes?
413 total lots.
That was the last approval.
Correct.
I drove by there today, and I don't know what the capacity of that retention pond is. Is that considered a state water?
There's several. I believe there's 4 or 5. Joe, you might know off the top of your head. I think there's.
It was several feet out of bank today. I can only imagine what it was 2 days ago.
Come up, Mr.
You can come up, sir.
As far as the pool.
state your name and address.
Oh,
for
I'm
the
sorry,
record.
sorry, Chairman. Joseph Galino. I am Vice President Land Development for Bill Beasley Homes, 7009 Evanstown Center Boulevard, Evans, Georgia. The pool, when you design a pool, it's a combination of concrete and water. It's done through the health department, the state, as well as Columbia County, and it's based on the number of houses. It's, I based it on 470 houses. And the only reason, not to say we wanted 470, but that gives you an idea of some more people, if you have guests, just to cover that. Everything in that pool is designed by code, because it went through the building department at that time. And as I just stated, there is 5 ponds in there. Each section, when we design it, you design the hydrology for that pond. So that pond is handling so much of one section, and another pond handles another section, and that's how this works. I don't know if there's any other questions. You mentioned the left-hand turn lane. That was in a SPLOST that was approved many years ago that the county was going to put in. I don't know if any of you remember.
I have a question on the
Yes, sir.
ponds. Are those homeowners or?
Yes, they're water quality ponds, and Columbia County does not take them. Therefore, I maintain them until the homeowners association.
Homeowners will take
They
ownership?
They retain ownership of them. Unless you all want them.
County does own at least one of them.
Oh, you are correct. You own, that means it's 6. I forgot the one. There is one in section 1, which is owned by the county. So there are 6 ponds. But so many, and I forget how many I do. I can answer any other question, or I'll be available if some other homeowners have questions on the. And there are 2 exits out. Actually, not really 2 exits out there. Willow Oak is split into 2 sections. Section south and I think it's south and north. I think, or I couldn't remember how I designed it. But that section we're talking about now. Just a little background. I know I'm getting out. The 413 was a caveat based on sewer capacity at that time. A while back, there was a county-initiated rezoning, and let me back up a little bit, which limited us to 413 and 10,000 square feet lot. The lot of 10,000 square feet determined the 413. So as you took what we were going to build, that's what it was. When the sewer capacity was fixed and we had the capacity, the county initiated a rezoning which reduced that 10,000 square feet back to the typical R2 RCO, which is 7,500, which the reason that didn't get developed, because you never changed the 413. That was originally part of Willow Oak's master plan, but based on 10,000 square feet because of sewer capacity. Once the sewer capacity was taken away, that allowed us to go to the typical 7,500 on the RCO, the R2 RCO, which I don't think exists anymore, and left us with this 12 acres left to go. It is not like, it was always part of Willow Oak. It wasn't, that should have changed. The 413 probably should have changed when the 10,000 square foot max requirement went away. More background.
Tell me about the turning lane.
At one time, I got to go back. I've got all the paperwork. I believe it's probably all before any of you were on the commission. There was a turn lane that was going to go in on Wrightsboro Road onto Hamilton.
For the county, for the state?
The county was going, it was in a county splosh that was approved.
It wasn't.
Was it mandated by the state or the county?
If I can just add to that, just so we can be clear, Commissioner
Please.
Malier, it was not a SPLOST project. It was actually a T-SPLOST discretionary project that was discussed. So that when you have a SPLOST project, those projects are listed out. We have to complete all those. This was not a SPLOST project. It was a T-SPLOST discretionary project. And this turn lane was one of several turn lanes that were going to be addressed with T-SPLOST discretionary money. Unfortunately, that has never been done, and there is no more T-SPLOST
County
discretionary
didn't build
money.
any of those turning lanes.
We didn't build any of those turn lanes.
Okay.
The discretionary money just did not stretch far enough. As you all know, we've spent a pretty good amount of T-SPLOST discretionary money, and we've done intersection improvements, we've done emergency response with some of that money, and the money has all been spoken for. So back to Mr. Galino, what he was talking about, 2013 was when that was discussed, and it was discussed that it would be a T-SPLOST discretionary project, but it was never funded.
I think it
But
was
he's right.
almost 2006 bought up.
Was when the
I've got the paperwork somewhere.
when the original rezoning, was there a requirement for a left-hand turn lane to go in there at that time?
I believe there was. Mr. Proctor, wasn't there, originally there was a left-hand turn lane?
There was in the 06 zoning for the RCO, it says a left turn analysis will be required to determine the need for installation of a left turn lane. Acceleration lane diminished for the posted speed limit on Hamilton Road will be required.
Doesn't say who will pay for it, just says it's required.
But further,
As part of it.
further on, it was, when another rezoning happened, it was bought back up again. Excuse me. And at the time, there was paperwork that, I want to say it was Mr. Browning, that's, I don't know if any of you.
That's right.
Had went back and forth, and I think it was with Chairman Cross, about the county was going to do it through T-SPLOST or whatever that was. I have that paperwork. I don't have it with me. I'm more than happy to supply it to you. But it was determined that the county was going, I don't want to say pay for it, but the county was going to do it, not my development company. That's the way it was left. And I can't remember if that was around 2013 when the next rezoning happened.
It was.
Was
around then?
December 5th, 2013 is when the condition was removed by a commission for the left turn lane.
But all of that was under the approval of 413 lots, is that correct?
Correct.
Correct.
So what would the state, what would the state say now? Is that a mandated, we got to have a turning lane, it's got to happen somehow?
If we were to touch that intersection right now, the state would require the left turn lane.
Bring it up.
Correct.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, if you need me, you know where I am.
I can't hear you, you're going to have to come up forward, I apologize.
December 5th meeting, when we spoke then, the lady came up here from the homeowners association and talked to about the creek behind the subdivision. If you look at that creek in just a 2-day rain, not considering a week or 2 weeks, you look at that creek in a 2-day rain, guess one of your commissioners here said he already looked out there at the retaining ponds that are full. If you looked at that creek, it was a dry creek. Now it's overfilling in banks and people posted things. I ask you, go on to my websites and look and see these people's properties and the creek that's coming up. I mean, protect Columbia County people. That's what I'm asking.
I make a motion to approve the request for a change of conditions that increases the maximum number of lots permitted to 458, subject to the conditions enumerated in the December 5th Planning Commission report, and the additional 45 lots will be assigned to the tax map 0521252, plus the developer will be required to provide that left-hand turn lane from Wrightsboro Road onto Hamilton Road, meeting all the GDOT requirements for the encroachment permit.
Second.
Yeah, could I prevail on Commissioner to add the language before? I want to assure that at least the study and the intersection, the turn lane is done before these units proceed construction. What's the timeline on that?
For mandating the left-hand turn lane be done, do you still need a study? If it's gonna be done, do you need a study?
GDOT's gonna require the permit, if this goes through, GDOT will require a full set of plans, show that the required queue lengths, how long the lane has to be. Even though you say it's required, GDOT will still have a process to go through to make it happen, if that's the way you choose to vote. Timeline, couple months.
All right.
So you're saying you want the turn-in lane in before the homes are built? Is that what you're asking?
Well, I would like to make sure that it's done, however we can manage to do that.
I imagine GDOT will
It
do
sounds
top of
like,
it.
yeah, it sounds like that'll get it done.
Any discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed? On to the next item, and we have a couple of speakers. Mr. Bill Knoll, we're dealing with the Blackstone Camp, River Island.
Okay, can they put my computer up on the screen?
Yes, sir.
There we go. I'm Bill Knoll. I live at 2006 Egret Circle in Evans. I'm here to talk about the rezoning of the apartments on Grand Oaks at River Island. The history, I won't go into most of that. The Planning Commission said to disapprove it would cause a lawsuit. They leaned back, raised their hands, and said we can't do it because of a lawsuit. We had over 1,000 signatures of homeowners against the apartments. That got nowhere. Matter of fact, I think somebody from the Planning Commission on TV said that they don't really look at these signatures when doing things. When I went to the planning meeting, and at the planning meeting, Mr. Mills, who is the developer, had about a 15-minute talk, and he said these apartments, he compared them to Hilton Head and Reynolds Plantation in Greensboro. Well, I almost fell off my chair. I spent 18 years in Reynolds Plantation. When I looked at I went back and got a photo of the apartments at Reynolds Plantation. They were really condos, but everybody rents them as apartments. I apologize, you can't see them very well because they blend in with the trees, so they make sure when they built these, that they saved as many trees as possible, and they used the landscape they had. So when he said that they were going to be like Reynolds Plantation, I said, that's a great thing. Then I got an aerial view of his site and what he's doing. Now, in the center, there are 6 trees there. Of those 6 trees, when you look at his rezoning, he threatens to cut those 6 trees down if he doesn't get at least something like 273 apartments. So I don't know when you're finished with this if we're going to even see those 6 trees there. But there's a better way to develop apartments than just raping the land like that. Now, there's some other problems that he's created with that, which I'll show you in a minute. The concerns that the residents have, the zoning is in the middle of single-family homes. The traffic is going to increase. There'll be at least 600, maybe more apartments. We've discussed that before. I will point out that last week I was driving by the school when it was out, and there were 3 kids trying to get across the road there. They couldn't do it because of the traffic. Finally, a school bus stopped. He turned his red lights on and put his stop signs out so nobody would get in front of the kids, and he directed them across the street. That's how they got across the street. So right now, there's no way to do that. As far as another thing, if you don't recall, I think it was about 6 months ago in St. Louis, a woman was walking a crosswalk into Walmart and got run over and killed. We have probably 1,000 cars go through Walmart now because they can't turn left on Fierce Ferry. So we've got situations like that as well. Finally, the effects of the department come up with an increase in crime and a lot of lack of ownership. We'll have more trash, more people don't worry about where they park or what they do. So these are some of the concerns. Some of the recommendations, we know we can't stop this from going through. But we request some report, some support, and I guess we haven't, as homeowners, haven't seen much of that so far. We'd like for you to review another section of that's called PUD, River Island PUD Parcel 10, and rezone that to single-family dwellings, and it's currently townhomes and apartments like what we've got. So that'll be another 300 apartments going in there. Now, last time we met, I was in here when some other citizens did. They threw up their hand, y'all threw up your hands and said, well, we can't do that because they'll sue us. I have a suggestion, and when I used to run into places where my lawyers would tell me what the best way to do things were so I wouldn't get sued, they would never tell me how to do the hard things. My suggestion is hire an outside law firm in Augusta or Atlanta on a retainer to help you with these hard projects you have. I can't tell you how to do it, but that's my experience with lawyers. Now, that's not the only thing. Now that y'all have approved one and now you're going to change it, they graded this area, and as you can see on Blackstone Camp Road, this is the run, and this has happened 3 times. It happened a couple of weeks ago, it happened last Thursday, and it happened again today. If you look, you'll see that the runoff from this thing is atrocious. It used to go back to the back of the property and down into the Savannah River. Now it comes over towards River Island. It comes up, and if you look at that second, there's a little dot in there. That's fire plug. It's almost underwater. So it doesn't stop there. Then the only place for the water go is come across the road into River Island. It cuts right through River Island and right down through the middle of it. And we had a retaining pond that was used by the kids for fish and release. And now that is full of silt, flooded over, and it's basically worthless. I called the county, the environmental group, couple of times and said, and I've also called them every time I've seen it flood, and I said, can you do anything? They said, well, we've got to stop work, and we've had it. Doesn't seem to do very much, plus the fact that I asked them if they could get the developer using their own funds to get the silt out of the pond there so we can use it again. And frankly, I haven't gotten a satisfactory answer. It appears it's quicker to get a rezoning done than it's to get something done like getting the silt out of a pond. So I do thank you for your time to listen to me.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Robert Spessert. Reminder, please. Try not to repeat what we've already heard if you can.
Thank you, Chairman.
5 minutes, please.
Chairman, Commissioners, Robert Spessert, 907 Kestrel Drive in River Island. First of all, thank you, Mr. Knoll, for the pictures. All right. and thank you for letting us speak. I spoke in March. At that time, this is before any of the construction occurred, and I requested that there be an environmental impact statement done to include a hydrology study to make sure that we didn't have the travesty that occurred in Jones Creek and Willow Lake. And we can see that perhaps that may have been a good thing to do. I'd like to thank you for the stop work order that has been going on, all right? Although that will not ameliorate what we've seen there with that. What concerns me is that the 2002 County Growth Plan, which was then updated in 2005, and it was called the 2010 Plan, and then the 2015/16 Vision Plan, all had Blackstone Camp as residential, okay? And also the current website has that as residential. And what is quite interesting is that each of those plans had specific verbiage requesting on page 6 of the 2010 update to address the responsibility to ensure the local regulatory tools support the implementation of the future development map and specified goals in this plan. And that was reiterated in 2015-2016 on page 5. The policy, I quote, basis for land use regulation occurs in 2 specific ways. First, the Future Development Guide provides a tool for evaluating land development requests. Second, local zoning and subdivision regulations sometimes require amendments based on the comprehensive plan recommendations. So the question arises, why weren't those amendments and rezoning done? Okay, previously we heard the term grandfather. That's an inappropriate use of the term because something can't be grandfathered unless there's been an administrative change and then you retrospectively permit someone to abide by the earlier, right? Well, I think what you're talking about is perhaps a vested right, which had not been actually accomplished yet. So there was an opportunity in that time period to amend because the Supreme Court of Georgia says there's a balancing test. It's the owner's rights, whether they're vested or not, realized, versus what is based on, according to the balancing test, the relative gain to the public as compared to the hardship imposed upon the individual property owner. So all that could have happened. And I guess as Mr. Knoll has mentioned with parcel 10, the opportunity arises to do a balancing test to make sure this travesty doesn't happen to parcel 10. Thank you for your time.
Sure.
Say that I appreciate Mr. Reese. We've met face to face, email back and forth, 100 times? The phone calls, and of the 1,000 people, signed the big thing, I guarantee I know at least 750 of them. So I get it. Matter of fact, my mother signed it. Don't even live there, she signed it. But I can speak for myself. And point one is they have had the rezoning since 2002. They've had that, it was in the PUD. And the vision plan is exactly that. It's a plan. It's not ordinance. It's not code. It does not require us to change codes. Frankly, I would personally be against that if somebody owns property. Secondly, with what the developer's asking, it's a slight move, and they're giving up 30 units for what I can see. And we had a meeting with a group of folks over here, and in that meeting, some of the key issues were turn lanes, which the developer's gonna do, sidewalks, they're going to donate the land, we're gonna have sidewalks. I actually spoke with GDOT again today. They're fast-tracking a light at Blackstone Camp Road. So you have succeeded, you have gotten things, and there has been work. It just, I don't think, you may not have gotten your ultimate desire, which was to torpedo this project. And lastly, in the TIA 2 money yesterday, we have the reworking of Blackstone Camp Road in that project. So if it passes in March, the road will get reworked. So you have achieved things, but again, I can just speaking for myself, I am a private property rights person, and I do respect the right to the landowner to do within reason what they want to with their property. Sitting where I sit, you'll see folks come and And it's almost, they want to control somebody else's property. It's a real fine line. It's a balancing act, like you said. And it's not easy. It's the toughest thing we deal with. But you have achieved and you have won a bunch of items, as far as I can see, based on the things that you asked for. That's my 2 cents worth. Comments? Anybody else?
I as District 1 Commissioner, I represent the folks in River Island, and I don't like apartments. I've said it, to all of you, to my colleagues here, to Mr. Mills. I don't like them, period. I have very, very negative feelings about apartments and any apartments, especially ones built in our county or in my district. And I know that a lot of you have negative feelings about them too, but these feelings don't trump the rights bestowed on this property owner by our predecessors back in 2002. And my feelings about the apartments have not changed. I still won't like them. I hope they're very nice, and I believe they will be. I believe that Southeastern will do a good job, and we're going to make the best of this. And I hope that after tonight, we can all move forward with a neighborly attitude.
Comments?
I echo the same things that y'all have as far as a property owner and going through the process and presenting a legit request. Back in 2002, I think Southeastern had a vision of what they wanted at River Island. I think they've held close to that, what they've done so far, and I think they'll continue to move forward with a quality project if this is approved tonight, and they will do a good job. And again, they did get that rezoning 2002. None of us had a thing to do with it. I know I've had property that I've got rezoned back in the 90s in Richmond County, and it's commercial, and I haven't done, and I would hate to lose my commercial zoning that I have been paying commercial taxes on since the 90s. But, timing is, I don't think Southeastern's ever stopped on their project. They have been continuing forward and working, so it's not like they gave up on the project and come back. It's been a process, and I think they've moved forward exactly like the plan from the start.
I can attest that Commissioner Merlier wasn't just telling me something tonight. We have discussions about apartments very often, and I have a similar dislike and an aversion to them. Living in District 4, we certainly don't want to see something like that. But property rights are going to carry forth, I think, and we have an aversion to them because of the sometimes social effects that they have. The sheriff can attest to it. If you look at plot graphs on the calls and the resources that are committed, apartments are in that character. But the motion is made, and thank you, Commissioner Miller, for
the motion.
Please.
I make a motion to approve the request for a major PUD revision for tax map 081001D and a portion of tax map 081001T, plus or minus 25.42 and plus or minus 32.49 acres respectively, subject to the conditions enumerated in the December 5th, 2019 Planning Commission report.
Second.
Favor, raise your right hand. Next item, Mr. Mark Cleary.
Mark Cleary, 1223 George C. Wilson Drive, Augusta, Georgia, 30909. I'm here on behalf of Ms. Kim Norman, and we would simply request that any approval of the variance be subject to the Planning Commission's conditions, and I think it's 4 specific items. And with that, that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark.
This is related to the Colburn Boulevard.
This is related to the variance on Woodbridge Drive.
I-2B4.
Then we skip one.
Did I skip one?
No, this is,
I apologize, I'm lost.
I-2B, I believe
Oh,
he
excuse
spoke
me,
too
I have
soon.
too much writing on mine.
You
So
want
we're
me to
gonna do
move
I-2B4
down?
first.
Do I-2B4 first.
Do that, can't we?
Go ahead and do the Woodbridge.
Do whatever you like.
Thank you. Let's go ahead and do
Okay.
that.
I will make a motion to approve the request for a variance to section 90-53, list of lot and structure requirements for property located at tax map 071C parcel 066, subject to the conditions enumerated in the December 5th Planning Commission report.
Second.
Discussion, all favor raise your right hand. Now back to I-2B3.
Okay. I'm glad I thought I fell asleep there for a
Not
minute.
too much writing on my page, sorry.
I make a motion to approve the request for a variance to section 90-98, list of lot and structure requirements, and 90-147H1C, use provisions, to eliminate a maximum front setback and decrease buffers for property located at tax map 078339, subject to the conditions enumerated in the December 5th Planning Commission report.
Second. Discussion, all in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries. 5.
Now back to the one after the one we did before this one.
Okay. I think I got it. This is the alcohol?
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay. I make a motion to approve the first reading of ordinance number 19-17, amending Chapter 6, Alcoholic Beverages, Article 2, License, Division 2, Business Regulations, Section 6101, Drinks, and to be served by employees, repealing any conflicting ordinance, and to be effective after the second reading.
Second.
Discussion? It's a tie. All in favor, raise your right hand. Carries.
I make a motion to approve the contract with Brooks Brothers Construction LLC for the Wildwood Park RV Dump Station project. Stop giggling. Y'all are terrible.
Mr. Schlocker has a correction to that, I think.
Septic tank.
Septic tank.
You want me to reread it?
Industry.
Okay.
There's
It's
a
an
second.
industry term.
I'll second that.
All in favor, raise your right hand. Carries.
And now we're on to the items that we added.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
I make a motion to approve the First Amendment to the Intergovernmental Agreement dated November 21st, 2017, with the Development Authority of Columbia County for the Appling Harlem Road project.
Discussion? All in favor? Second?
Second.
I'll second.
All in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries.
I make a motion to accept the warranty deed and declaration of green space covenants and restrictions from JR Construction Services LLC, tax map 0623145.
All right, so this says items deleted.
Yes, that was a mistake, but it was an item added.
So thank you.
All right, we do not have a second.
Not yet.
I will second.
Any discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. Legal matters. Not yet.
Not yet.
Request for review by committee.
No, sir.
Public comments, participation. Executive session, we have a few items to deal with, and so go ahead and deal with those in open session, I would think.
I would suggest that we deal with those in open session if there's no objection.
Move forward.
All right, sir, I'd be happy to make the motion to approve the renewal agreement with the Development Authority of Columbia County and Robert Bennett.
Second.
Formal.
You please approach the bench. Is there anybody who wants to say remarks about Robbie Bennett? Then all in favor, raise your right hand.
He's been doing a good job lately, Mr. Chairman.
Okay,
Keeper.
stay another week.
We appreciate what Mr. Bennett does for the county.
Even those broken clocks are right twice a day.
That's right.
Rock and fire.
I make a motion to approve $41,800. Connie and Drew Malier, parcel 157, to obtain right-of-way and/or easement for the Fury's Ferry Road widening project.
Mr. Chairman, I am Connie and Drew Malier, and I would like to abstain from this vote, please.
You're Connie Andrew?
I am. I'm representing.
I will second that motion.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, can I add something here?
Please,
Just,
go for it.
the circumstances like this don't always come up, but I think it's prudent to bring it up. Commissioner Malier has abstained from this vote. This is a situation where we're widening Fury's Ferry Road, and as a resident of that road, we had to negotiate with all the property owners on the road And obviously Commissioner Malier and her husband are property owners on that road. We did that through a third party, which is the traditional way to do that. This is within the scope and within the amount of money that was a fair offer. The county is comfortable with this, but I just felt like it was just necessary to just point that out, that I believe that the Maliers negotiated in good faith and that it was a good move for the county. Obviously, we have to have the property, and all this is above board.
It's also required review by DOT.
That's
separate
correct.
From county review for approval, so it
Right.
went through a lot of eyes.
Correct.
Any other discussion?
I would just point out that our agenda said Flowing Wells widening, but it is the Fury
It is Fury's Fair. Fury's Fair.
Road widening.
All in favor, raise your right hand. 4, 1 abstain. Right. Is there any other reason we need to stay here?
No, sir.
Mr. Commissioner, Mr. Chairman, Merry Christmas, and I move we adjourn.
Second to that also.
Merry Christmas to all staff. Hope you have a blessed holiday season. We are adjourned.